Hello everyone, Phil Snyder with GunClassUtah.com. Hey, today's lesson is going to be on the crime of aggravated assault in Utah. If you want to go to a website called le.utah.gov and put in the search box Utah Title 76-5-103, give that a read from top to bottom. I'm not going to read it word for word just to keep the video short, but it's always a good idea to do so. We always have the students in our classes, concealed carry classes, read this word for word so we don't have misinterpretations, things like that. But the legislature just amended this statute May 1st of 2024, just a couple of weeks ago, and it says it's effective until July 1st of 2024. I don't know what's going on, but I'll follow that. And if it's changed, I'll have to do another updated video to keep everybody in the know. Laws can change any given year, and so it's your responsibility to know what these changes are. That's why it's always a good idea to take a refresher course, and that's something that we offer. Just get a hold of us through our website. An actor commits aggravated assault if the actor either attempts with unlawful force or violence to do bodily injury. So maybe they have a knife in their hand and, they attempt to stab you and they miss. That attempt with unlawful force with that knife or other deadly weapon would qualify. Or they make a threat accompanied by a show of immediate force or violence to do bodily injury. So in this case, let's say they have a knife and they say, "I'm going to kill you." Or they commit an act with unlawful force that causes bodily injury or creates a substantial risk thereof. So in this case, I stab you in the leg with that knife and cause a superficial wound. Or I do anything else that causes a substantial risk of bodily injury. So let's say that maybe I pointed a loaded gun at your chest. Okay, well, and my finger was on the trigger, right? I mean, that would cause a substantial risk of that gun going off. Aggravated assaults are a forcible felony, okay? They are a third-degree felony unless that aggravated assault results in a loss of consciousness. And it's a first-degree felony if that conduct targets a law enforcement officer. Aggravated assaults, just for the concealed carry community out there, are very common violent crimes that are you might come across. I know Salt Lake City, there was a news report, I think it was 2022, but the first half of 2022, between January and June, they had 50 aggravated assaults with a gun during that year. And so if you're going to be at risk of a violent crime in Utah or anywhere for that matter, I suppose there's a number of those across the nation, something to be aware of. Let me just tell you a story. When I was a deputy sheriff, this is probably 20 years ago or more, but we were out at animal control. We got a call on a trespasser out there, and I was with another deputy, Deputy Robert Burton, and he had about 5 years on, and I was really green. I had a couple of years on under my belt out of the academy, and was just learning my way how to do this job and figuring out use of force and all that. And so I remember there was this field, and we were approaching the animal control. We had information to the dispatch that there was an alarm drop that went off, and they knew that this guy was trespassing on the property after hours, and he was trying to bust his horse out of the impound. Apparently the horse had been impounded earlier in the week, and he was there to get his horse back. So anyway, we approached this guy, and he was up on the fence of this horse stall, and I just asked him to come down off of the fence and talk to me, and he immediately just escalated the situation, and he was shouting profanities at us and screaming at us, and we're doing everything we can to, I'm doing everything I can to de-escalate that situation using my verbal voodoo skills. They call it verbal judo, but we joke around and call it gerbil voodoo. Appreciate that, sir, but But anyway, it didn't matter what we said to this guy. He just wanted to be angry. And at one point during this confrontation, he said, well, I have a gun and I think I'm just going to shoot both of you. Well, after he said that, I drew my gun on him and I said, well, if you have a gun, don't reach for anything and get off the fence and get on the ground. Well, he responded by saying, oh yeah, asshole, I have a gun too, and it's in my coat. And he had this really big, heavy coat on. It was wintertime and, like a Carhartt coat. And, I knew that there were shoulder rigs that can be placed in there, and that's where he said that gun was. And then when he reached into that coat really suddenly, after making that threat to me to kill us, I took that gun and I pointed it. I had it at the center of his chest, and I had my finger on the trigger of that Glock. And I had that trigger pulled all the way back to the wall on that Glock. And there's about 5 pounds of trigger before that gun goes off. Anybody that has a Glock knows what that is. And all I remember is I was focused on his hand that was in his coat, and I had tunnel vision. I didn't see anything else. And at this point, I was kneeling down with that gun, squeezing on that trigger, and then all of a sudden his hand came out empty. Neither one of us shot that guy. It's a miracle that nobody shot him, that our guns didn't go off. After that happened, we proned him out, and I searched him and handcuffed him. He did not have a gun on him. And my adrenaline was just through the roof. And I just told this guy, I said, do you realize how close you were to being shot? I was squeezing on my trigger. And he said, I wanted to die. Why didn't you shoot me? I said, why would you want to die? He said, well, I'm mentally ill and I've been struggling all my life and nothing works. And I just wanted to end it. And I didn't have the guts to do it myself. And then I said, well, let's get you some help. And I determined that he had some mental illness. And when I took him to the jail, we alerted the mental health staff and got that guy some help. I never heard from this guy since then. I hope he's doing all right. But that was what I think that would qualify as, under aggravated assault, making a threat accompanied by a show of immediate force to do bodily injury. When he said he was going to kill me and he reached into that area where he said that gun was, I think had that happened, I would have had a legal defense to that under both of those. Not something that I would want to live with, and I'm absolutely glad that it didn't happen. But just remember, under the aggravated assault statute, it has to include either the use of a dangerous weapon or the threatened use of a dangerous weapon. In this case, that's what that was. Or chokeholds and strangleholds were also added by the legislature to include this. So applying pressure to the neck or throat of an individual, or obstructing the nose, mouth, or airway of an individual, or other means or force likely to produce death or serious bodily injury. So, those MMA fighters, they put people in chokeholds and things like that, and you could be killed from those. That's a use of deadly force. And it's okay to use that type of deadly force if you have reasonable grounds to use deadly force. So you could use any means necessary if you have an immediate threat of deadly force. But if those are done unlawfully, that would be a crime of aggravated assault. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.